This is updating an agreement that was actually signed by Shinzo Abe and John Howard back in 2007. And of course, since 2007, the security environment that Australia and Japan are facing has got much, much worse. And so now the two countries are looking to really substantially upgrade their defence ties. Now, we already saw the two countries sign at the beginning of this year something called the Reciprocal Access Agreement. That's basically an agreement that will allow or make it easier for Australian and Japanese troops to be stationed in each other's countries. And now we're getting this new joint security declaration, updating the 2007 statement, which is going to be used as a framework to allow much, much deeper cooperation across a whole range of fields between Australia and Japan in the military space. So what does that mean? We're likely to see, for example, a reference to more sophisticated military exercises. We're going to see probably an agreement that canvasses the possibility of more sophisticated defence research together, and also collaboration on things like humanitarian relief and joint surveillance. We are also potentially going to see some sort of clause which is going to commit the two countries to looking to commit to actually consulting one another over any joint security threats. Now, just to be very clear here, this isn't a legally binding agreement here like the ANZUS Treaty that Australia has with its major alliance partner, the United States. This is a high-level, in-principle document only. But the fact that Australia and Japan are now talking about consulting one another whenever one country or the other faces a security threat is a significant shift. It's not something that Japan does lightly, and it speaks to the fact that both countries are increasingly anxious about security threats.
Well, talking about that anxiety, what is driving this deeper defence cooperation between Australia and Japan?
Look, it's about a couple of things, but obviously up the top of the list is China, and the fact that China has, since 2007, massively enlarged its own defence forces. It's got a much larger navy, by some measures larger now than the US Navy, and it's also been increasingly assertive, even aggressive, in its neighbourhood. We've seen, for example, China militarise the South China Sea, building up land features there, which it then stations military equipment on. We've also seen far more incursions into Japanese airspace by Japanese fighter jets. You're now seeing hundreds of flights scrambled out of Japan every year to respond to Chinese incursions, as well as Japanese Coast Guard ships and other ships being hassled by the Chinese Coast Guard in the East China Sea, where the two countries have disputed land features. So anxiety about China's military rise is the main thing driving this, but it's not the only thing. Japan is also increasingly worried, for example, about North Korea's increasingly aggressive posture as it takes rapid steps to develop a nuclear weapons arsenal. So plenty for both countries to worry about, but also plenty of common ground that they share about the best way to deal with these common threats. And I think that's the main thing that's really driving this intensifying security cooperation and this joint security declaration that we're going to see from both leaders here today.